Good morning. It's Sunday, June 13th, a sunny Sunday, no less. I'm Sienna Dode, one of the more colorful members of the Board of Trustees, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick. It's a busy day. Today, Reverend Justine Sullivan will help us recall how much we've grown as a spiritual community since the fire 10 years ago. Immediately following the service at 11 a.m., we will reconvene for our annual meeting, vote on the incoming board members, and proposed church budget for 2021 to 2022. Finally, I'd like to remind everyone our charity of soul for the month of June is Maine All Care. We believe as Unitarians in the inherent worth and dignity of all human beings, and that includes good health care. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege. So please give generously. 50% of our collection goes to the work of this church, and 50% goes back into the community. Once again, thank you for joining us this morning and enjoy the service.
We did it. You did it. This long school year like no other is nearly over. We'll know which homes have school-age children in them because soon we will see parents and children turning cartwheels on their front lawns. And the teachers. Oh, the teachers, what a year it has been for teachers. Suddenly having to figure out how to offer material online and then in person or both at the same time. How exhausting, but you did it. Hooray. Here at Uucb, we follow the rhythms of the academic year. Today marks an ending of sorts with our annual meeting happening later this morning. And I, your interim minister, will be out of the pulpit for most of the summer. Next week, I will attend ministry days and General Assembly online. Then I'll have some vacation time in July and will return in August to begin planning the new church year with our worship committee and our RE committee and our DRE Tobin and the board and other leaders. But we take a pause from some of the busyness to enjoy the longer days and the warmer weather. But this is a full-time church with services every Sunday throughout the summer, and your worship team has put together a wonderful lineup of worship leaders, some from this congregation, some from the larger community. Good stuff. Still online. And then, assuming that all continues to go in the good direction that things have been going with COVID, we will return to in-person worship on Sunday, September 12th. How wonderful. So today we look back with gratitude. We mark the 10-year anniversary of the fire that destroyed your 19th century church building, a Victorian gem, I heard it described as. The loss of that church building was devastating. And yet you emerged out of that loss with a renewed sense of purpose, of commitment, of connection to each other. And we honor all that today. And it's June, which means it's LGBTQ plus Pride Month, and we will honor that too. So sit back, lots to cover this morning. Let us be together in worship. And let us sing together our opening song, hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle of Redeeming Love. In honor of LGBTQ Pride, I offered this reflection that I wrote in June of 2014. I remember my first Gay Pride March in Boston, 1982. The marchers gathered in Copley Square. I can remember that walking the 50 feet to cross Boylston Street to go to the CVS felt scary. My 19-year-old self sporting all kinds of buttons. We wore lots of buttons back then. Don't die wondering. Dyke. How dare you presume I'd rather be straight? The moral majority is neither. ERA now. Women hold up half the sky. Crossing Boylston Street and walking into that CVS, I suddenly didn't feel so bold. I regretted some of my button choices. The protective bubble of the Gay Pride March only extended to the edge of the sidewalk on our side of Boylston. I thought of this as I walked around the city today. Gay Pride Day 2014. Rainbow flags on the Boston Public Library, on banks, at City Hall Plaza. And just today, this is 2021, in Hannaford, there was a gay pride display. The whole city decked out with colors of pride, like Christmas decorations in December. Holy smokes. All of this packed into 2 words. Happy Pride. This morning, back in 2014 now, this morning I had the chance to be part of the Gay Pride service at the Arlington Street Church in Boston. I had attended my first Unitarian Universalist worship service in that meeting house on this same day over 20 years ago, Gay Pride 1993. How could there be such a church, I wondered? A church that welcomed me and all my lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer siblings as our true selves, loving whom we loved, longing for recognition, for acceptance, for belonging, for community. All that was right there waiting for us, for all of us without exception. This was the home of the loving God I had imagined, had learned of and read about and heard spoken of from the pulpit. God loves you, but then not really experienced. Love the sinner, hate the sin. What if I don't really want my entire life and identity characterized as a sin that is okay to hate? So I stayed away and pined for the God I felt I had been tricked into believing in, only to find that it was just a story constructed to keep people in line. Oh, I was angry. I had a deep and fierce anger, like an infant howling in the dark. A rage that springs from the terror of being completely alone. Entering that meeting house for the Boston Gay Pride service in 1993, that howling infant was picked up and held as her sobs subsided and her breathing softened and then slowed. You are not alone. You are loved. You have inside you a spark of the divine. Happy Pride.
Well, it's a jungle out there. The year 2018, I didn't think we'd still be sorting babies into blue and pink. And all our progress, well, I wonder what it means that the only girls' clothes that work for me turn out to be boyfriend jeans. Well, that's fine, 'cause I decline narrow set of rules that just don't work. These red lines, they're not mine. And if you need me, you can find me ironing my shirt, 'cause I'm in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell, saying everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find the clothes that fit, and the images that stuck ya were a patriarchal structure, and you never will surrender to a narrow view of gender. And I swear there'll come a day when you won't worry what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. And it's a bloody nightmare, trying to fight the spread of bigotry and fear that's uniting Piers Morgan and Jermaine Greer and all our progress. Yeah, I wonder who it's for. When I dared to utter that trans lives matter, and yeah, all I got was a turf war. Well, that's fine, 'cause I decline your narrow set of rules, they just don't work. These red lines, they're not mine. And if you need me, you can find me ironing my shirt, 'cause I'm in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell, saying everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find the clothes that fit, and the images that stuck ya were a patriarchal structure, and you never will surrender to a narrow view of gender. And I swear there'll come a day when you won't worry what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. You will figure out what's yours, and that it's got nothing to do with fitting neatly in a box that was constructed to make it seem like people come in just two teams, and anything that's in between ain't good enough. And you will love, and you'll be loved. You're in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell. Darling, everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find the clothes that fit, and the images that stuck ya were a patriarchal structure. No, you never will surrender to a narrow view of gender. And there's folks you've yet to meet, but you're exactly up their street, and they've been waiting just as long to hear someone sing this song. And better days are on their way, when it won't matter what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. And girl, you're gonna be so happy. And girl, you're gonna be just fine. And girl, you're gonna be so happy. Down the line, down the line.
On Sunday, June 5th, 2011, the final service was held at UUCB's historic church building. It was a coming-of-age service.
At the time, I was a key member of the staff of the Curtis Library across the street. And at about 3 a.m, I got a call from our security company, from the library security company, saying that there was a power outage at the library. And there was an alarm going off. So I needed to respond to that. So I got dressed and headed right down to the library, and it wasn't a library issue at all. It was across the street at the church. So it was very clear from the firefighters' activity and everything that was going on at the church that this was a much bigger deal than I had ever imagined. Start with. So, I arrived right after 3 or so in the morning, and Sylvia was on the sidewalk, and she and I essentially watched the church burn.
We weren't the first by any means, and there were people from the church all around. The fire was out, it was still smoldering, there was water in the basement, and we just all stood here, and it was kind of this real sense of loss.
Longfellow's Bible was pulled from the fire in time. The new grand piano is likely to clean up just fine. The leaded glass windows are shattered and scattered and broke, and the old wooden pipe organ's gone through the roof with the smoke. When the UU burned down, the history was lost. 8 generations of sunlight and frost. When the UU burned down, the minister cried. 'Cause stalwart New Englanders can't always keep it inside. There's a family of Priuses parked in a line down the block, as friends come together to weather the sadness and shock. Looking for answers, we hover, we poke and we prod. But of course, being UUs, there's nobody here blaming God. When the UU burned down, we were singing that song. Something about keeping on, keeping on. And when the UU burned down, we gathered to say, the bleeding heart of this church is still beating today. Corner of Middle and Pleasant, they're loading the trucks with everything that wasn't nailed down and wasn't burned up. You think of the years and the miles that we've walked down this road. We're tired, we're proud that it's our turn to shoulder the load. And when the UU burned down, the vision was safe as light through a window while music is played. And when the UU burned down, the mission was clear. Pick up the smoldering pieces and take it from here.
Each Sunday morning we take up an offering and you can make that offering online. You'll see the instructions on your screen in a moment. We take up an offering to support the mission and vision of this congregation, but also of a charity with soul, an organization that we feel supports the same values that we support as Unitarian Universalists. This month, our charity with soul is Maine All Care. And so as we listen to our amazing choir singing, and I want to give a shout out especially to our choir director, Heidi Neufeld, who has found a way to make music this year and to keep the choir together in this time apart. So with gratitude for our choir, with gratitude for the abundance of so many resources in this congregation, let the morning offering be joyfully given and gratefully received.
I am alone and I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced on the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it will be my crime. In humility I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side.
We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side.
On this journey with thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart. I am gathering my tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who have come before me band together to be my guide. Loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side.
We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side.
When we get there, we'll discover all of the gifts we've been given to share. Have been with us since life's beginning, and we never noticed that they were there. We can balance on the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side.
We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side.
Yeah, we knew the community was here, and Judd wrote that song about the Priuses all that. That was really true. Everybody was just here. We were just together, and we didn't talk a lot.
I see I have 4 minutes for sermon.
the funny thing is, we hadn't been members very long at that point. And so I didn't have a huge history with the building. Most of my relationship with the building had been in its drawbacks. So it was too hot in the summers, too cold in the winter, and wasn't accessible and all that sort of thing. So it didn't take me very long when I was on that sidewalk to go, oh, we have options now. It was one of those things that I just went, well, when one door closes, another door opens, and boy, did this door just open wide. So I was really excited to be part of that transition. I was on the recovery team right after the fire. And
what was your charge as the recovery team?
I was representing the worship committee on the recovery team. And so it was my job to find a place for us to worship. Yeah, it was Marilyn Weinberg from the Minnie Brown Center by way of Marilee Tiemann. They have been friends forever, and they were talking amongst themselves and said, hey, we have this Minnie Brown Center, and that might be a good place for you to rest. And so Marilee brought it to me, and we all met at Minnie Brown. And the only drawback to it was the accessibility issue, but
what was the issue with that?
Well, all the bathrooms were downstairs.
Okay.
And the worship was upstairs. So we worked around that. We had a system where, you know, people, because you could drive around to the downstairs level. So we had volunteers who would drive people around down to the bathrooms. And it not ideal, but it worked.
So about a year and a half ago, the church that my wife and I were married in and that we attend burned down, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Brunswick, and this guitar is made using wood from the pews in that church and has been auctioned off to raise money for the rebuilding effort. So the soundboard is pine. The seats of the pews were pine, and I found a stretch that was suitable for a guitar top. And the back and the sides and the neck are all ash because the rest of the pews were the rest of the body of the pews was made of ash. And so these are uncommon woods to find in acoustic guitars, although both have been used before. You often see ash in some solid body electric guitars, and of course baseball bats. It's now ready to hand off to the winning bidders, who happen to be the minister and her husband. It feels nice to be able to use something from it to help get the next one built. So.
A nice memento of the church and the people and everything.
I was a support to people more than anything else. At the time, our son was still with, a kid. And so we were still really involved with that. And, my friend Laura Jackson had the brilliant idea to, save the stained glass windows.
Yes.
And so people went around and gathered all the window bits and pieces. And, I did what I could to support other people at that point and to try and kind of maintain a sense of everything's going to be all right.
Important.
Yeah. And then it's a blur, Justine, honest. After that, it's just a blur.
Well, can you believe it's been 10 years?
Yeah, because I'm the head of building and grounds. A very dear friend of mine, Marilyn Weinberg, was president of the Temple Bethel in Bath. And so I knew that they were going to let us do that, and sort of kept in touch with how they felt. But other people really stepped forward. And I am forever grateful because it was a lot of meetings. People gave up a lot of time for a lot of meetings to make some really tough decisions. And you have to respect the fact that, we have this great building now. And
it'll be a beautiful Sunday morning for a group of very patient people in Brunswick as they start a new beginning. Over 2 years ago, a fire destroyed a church in Brunswick, and getting a new church has been a lesson in patience and persistence. Tomorrow, it will all pay off.
It's been an amazing journey that this congregation has been on.
The journey to build this new church hasn't been an easy one.
What to build, where to build it, how to fund it, and how to move forward, all of those decisions.
Decisions they had to make because of this. June 2011, an electrical problem set fire to the Brunswick Unitarian Universalist Church.
So we didn't really have a center, but we still were a church.
So while they decided what to do next, the congregation made the best of a bad situation.
And we learned what it is that makes a church. It's not a building. The church is not the church building, it's the people.
But now the people have their building back. The pulpit, made from the burned church's pews. The Bible, saved from the fire from the famous poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The window, repaired.
One of the windows, one of our stained glass windows, was broken during the fire. The fire department had to vent the fire, or the whole thing would have gone up.
The window that saved the pews and the Bible was a window a church family put in to honor their daughter who died in the 1970s.
The day of the fire, we were out there on the lawn picking up all the pieces of glass, and the church decided to have that window rebuilt.
The people rebuilt the building.
I love this church, and it's a great relief to be in a home again. But the thing that has satisfied me the most in this whole journey is the people.
It's about the people. That's what Sylvia said in that interview as you came back into your beautiful new church building. As lovely as this building is, as devastated as we were to lose the building that had housed this church for many, many years, the church is not the building. It's about the people. And I have experienced such beauty and resilience and creativity in the people of this congregation. And I want to tell you that it has been an absolute joy and a privilege to serve you this year. And I look forward to the year ahead, and especially to being able to meet more of you and to meet you again, to meet you in person. And so with a joyful heart and raised voices, let us sing together our closing hymn, Guide My Feet. Something happens when we gather. I think many of you now know that that's kind of my theology and my one sermon rolled up in just a few words. Something happens when we gather. And we have learned in this year that we don't have to actually even be in each other's physical presence in order to gather. So again, I thank you for all of your attention and support and care for me and for each other over this year. I look forward to what lies ahead. Grab yourselves some coffee and come back for our annual meeting in just a bit on Zoom. And I'm going to send us out with this beautiful song written by our own Judd Caswell, Ring Out Joy and Peace, in honor of the bell that was rescued from the church fire and whose inscription is an inspiration to all. Ring out joy and peace. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe.
Three times a day on the main street of Brunswick, that old Universalist bell rang out the morning, the noon and the evening, and all of the town knew it well. Old Colonel Dennison, he sent back the first one. He said that the tone wasn't pure, and we Universalists, so few in number, have got to sing out if we want to be heard, ringing joy and peace to the world, ringing joy and peace to the world. 40 years later, one October evening was lit by a terrible fire. And the next Sunday morning, the bell lay in ruins, and the ashes and bones of the spire. And the years had been hard as those black walnut pews, and the church could have easily died. But they rolled up their sleeves, picked up the pieces, they recast the bell, and right there on the side said, "Ring joy and peace to the world. Bring joy and peace to the world." And that bell rang in change for 125 years, rang out freedom with a beautiful noise, and it rang out in hope, and it rang out in sorrow, and rang till the next fire took its voice. Some folks will tell you the church is so stubborn, we don't even know when we're beat. And some folks will tell you the church has got gumption and know how to land on our feet. Well, all that I know is the work was unfinished. We all felt the need to go on, build a home here for bringing that bell back to ringing. Our voices still singing out loud with a song, bringing joy